Welcome to Proverbs 31 Creatives. My name is Brianna Coleman. I'm so excited for this new chapter in my walk with the Lord. My goal with this podcast is to encourage other women to grow their creativity, entrepreneurship, finances, life, health, and most importantly, grow closer to Jesus. I'll be having conversations with guests with anointed women in faith and learning right along with you. Are you ready to start your journey to become the creative Proverbs 31 woman you've always wanted to be? All right, let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Proverbs 31 Creatives. I'm your host, Brianna Coleman. I hope you guys are having an amazing week so far. This week, if you guys are watching on YouTube, I'm sure you could probably tell we have another amazing guest with us today, Miss Kaitlyn Hockett. I'm so excited about this. I continually go back to Kaitlyn's page quite a bit to learn all things homesteading and real estate investments and all these kind of different things. She is just so full of wisdom. She's an amazing mom to her 5 beautiful children. She is in business with her husband with real estate investments. And I'm just so excited to pick her brain during this conversation and get all the knowledge that she has. So Miss Kaitlyn Hockett, welcome to Proverbs 31 Creatives.
Thanks, Bree. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, of course. Your brand, the Hockett Home, like I'm not kidding you. Like your YouTube channel, your Instagram, like you are just so full of knowledge when it comes to homesteading and to raising a Christ-centered home for your children and your marriage. And I look up to that so much. And the Lord, I always ask the Lord whenever I want to bring on a guest. And so when I got the all clear to bring you on, I was so very excited for selfish reasons. So I'm very excited for today.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet of you to say. We definitely really strive to raise our kids in the Lord and just strive for just a beautiful, simple life together. And
Yeah,
the Lord's definitely blessed us every step of the way.
absolutely. And you can see that through your page, through your brand. So I love that so much.
Thank you.
So number one, I just wanted to talk a little bit, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us your background, your upbringing, all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, so I came to know the Lord when I was 8 years old. I always consider that such a blessing. I remember
Yeah.
vividly just knowing that the Lord saved me and I needed him. I was then baptized when I was 12 and just was blessed that I can really see his hand over my whole life. And so
I love that.
I love that he has always been there. He's always seen me through difficult things and just difficulties, even growing up. It's just there was some difficult times in our home. My mother was chronically ill. She passed away 3 years ago, and just some other
I'm so sorry.
difficulties growing up for me and my siblings. But the Lord was always faithful in everything,
I love
and that was always a blessing. And so I met my husband. We actually met through mutual friends at what was supposed to be a Bible study, and it was really a setup. Which is really funny. Some of our friends who were there, they said, this is either going to crash and burn or they're going to get married. Well, 18 months later, we got married. And
Oh my gosh, I love
so
that.
we have been together 12 and a half years. We've been married and we have 5 kids. They range from 10 down to 2.5, and we homeschool them, which has been a blessing. It's our second year homeschooling, and that was really something that we just felt like the Lord was calling us to. We really prayed about it for a good year after our son actually came to us. He was our only one in school at that time and asked us if he could be homeschooled. And so we spent a long time praying and seeking the Lord in that, and the Lord just kept putting people in front of us all the time and just was very clear that this is what you need to do. And so it's
Yeah.
just very cool how he's even blessed that, and just
Mhm.
how his hand has just been in all of it. And so we have, my husband and I walked through many things together and much of life together, starting at, I was 20 when we met. And so
Oh
now
wow.
that's been almost 14 years now. And so just growing together, growing in the Lord together. And it's all just been a wonderful journey.
That's amazing. So let me ask, what made him ask to want to be homeschooled? Because I know a lot of kids, like for me, when I got older, I definitely thought about it. But a lot of kids want to be with, in the public school, doing the school events and things like that. So what made him want to be homeschooled?
Well, I think part of it is he already had a few friends who were homeschooled. And
Okay.
then most of his friends from our church go to private school.
Okay.
And
Gotcha.
he saw that. He's just very different than a lot of the friends. I guess you could call them friends at his public school. They weren't really friends. He didn't have, he had acquaintances that he did classes with, but if you asked him who his best friends were, it was his cousins, it was his friends who were
Mhm.
homeschooled, it was his buddies at church. And so he just didn't love that. He also didn't love being in a classroom stuck there all hours of the day. There's a lot of behavioral issues at his school, sadly. And
Mhm.
just even education wise, we really wanted him to have a Christian education. We really wanted him to be able to learn everything that he could. And so when the Lord put it on his heart, we were like, okay, we should probably talk about this.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's so important that you guys even, took what he was saying and, took it to the Lord and said, "Hey, this is how we're feeling. Like, let's pray about it as a family
Mhm.
and let's make that decision." I love that so much.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been great, and our girls now love it. They're in kindergarten, the twins are, and it's been quite a journey because now we're in the midst of real estate investing and flipping a home. So it's a
Yeah.
little chaotic right now at our home, but we are just really holding to the fact that the Lord has called us to this, which means He's going to
Mhm.
provide us with everything that we need, and He's going to provide our children with everything that they need.
That's amazing. And that's actually a perfect segue into I would love to talk about your debt-free journey and how you went and you paid off your college loans and then you basically set your family up. You built that strong foundation for your guys' now future and how you guys live your life. So I would love to talk about that, about like, paying off your debt and everything like that.
Yeah, of course. So when we first got married, I did not realize how much in student loans that were in my
Mhm.
name. And I ended up leaving college. So I was at Ohio State and I never knew what I
Okay.
wanted to do. And college was just not the place the Lord wanted me. So I ended up leaving there after
Mhm.
a year and a half. And then
Mhm.
went to culinary school for a while. But then after we got married, my husband asked me, he goes, is this what you want to be doing? What do you want
Mhm.
to do with your life? And no one had
Yeah.
ever asked me that before. And I just looked at him and I said, I don't know, but I don't want to do this. And he goes, then we
Mhm.
can't, then why are we paying for you to go to school if you know
Right.
this is not what you want to pursue and you know this isn't where the Lord wants you? So I ended up
Mhm.
leaving school. About 4 months after that, I ended up losing my job just because they brought in new management. And so my position was eliminated. And we also that same month found out I had $23,000 in student loans. And we had only been married a few months, which it was very
Oh my
chaotic
god.
time. And we just really felt like we needed to pay them off as quickly as possible. And so we
Yeah.
both got multiple jobs. We ended up downsizing our apartment. We went from this apartment that was like $1,000 a month to we found one that was less than $600 a month. Now, the only air
Wow.
conditioning was a wall unit, so we suffered for a couple of years. But we ended up
Yes.
in about 15 months. We paid off that
Wow.
$23,000 in student loans. We then worked to save up cash to buy our home that we
Mhm.
live in now. We live in a 100-year-old fully renovated home and we
Mhm.
renovated it ourselves. We bought it for cash and then just continued working and just trusting the Lord. That was our thing that we always believed is we've never had a super large income. We've we don't have one of these very large dual family incomes, but we always believed in continuing to tithe every week, even in our debt journey, and
Yes.
continuing to give that 10% and trusting that the Lord was going to give it back to us and that He
And
was going to provide what we needed. And so my
mhm.
husband and I have a running joke that the math just doesn't add up. And
Yes.
so, for what we've been able to do, what we've been able to save, what we're now able to do with real estate investing, it
Mhm.
technically should not be possible even if I showed you the numbers on paper, you would look at them and you'd be like, there's no way. There's no physical way with your income, with your family size, with inflation where it is, with everything where it is, that you should be able to do what you're doing. And I would
Right.
full-heartedly agree with you. And then I would say, but
Yeah.
God. But
Yes,
God
but
did
God.
that. And we
Yep.
continue to trust him. And there were many times we wanted to get into real estate investing over the years. And our thing was
Mhm.
always, Lord, if this isn't the right home, shut that door. And
Yep.
every time he would shut that door. And I was just like, every time. It was for years. It was
Of
for
course you want the
years.
Lord's blessing, but it's also frustrating at the same
Oh
time. Like,
my
Lord, I
goodness.
want this house.
So frustrating. And so with this house, there were many times we thought maybe he was going to close the door. And
Mm,
I was like, Lord, if you're going to close it, just close it. Like, I don't care. Like, it's
yeah.
fine. You've done that before. But if you're going to
Yeah.
open it, like, I know we have to trust you. And I know we have to trust that the numbers are going to work. And we have to trust that you're going to provide what we need in order to do
Mhm.
this. And so he opened that door. And now, if you go to our YouTube page, we're in the midst of renovating a hoarder house, which is very chaotic. And there's
Yeah.
been many things with it that were like, wow, this was really unexpected. And I looked at my
Mhm.
husband last week because there were some more unexpected expenses. And I said, but listen, like the Lord gave us this house. So I fully believe
Yeah.
he's going to provide us what we need for it. And I fully believe that he's going to make this work out. And he was like, I
Yes.
know you're right. And then it was really
Mhm.
cool because that next week when we posted the first YouTube video for it, we've gained over 140 subscribers from one single long form video.
That's
And it was
amazing.
the
But
first one in
God.
the
Oh my
series,
goodness.
and it's our biggest video that we've had yet. And we're still a really small channel, but like
Yeah.
to see that promise of the Lord being like, just keep going. It's like he
Yeah.
leaves me little nuggets of
Yes.
just keep going. I remember one time it's a little segue, but our pastor was talking about the verse that says, your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my
Mhm.
path.
Amen.
And what our pastor said is, he goes, what people typically misinterpret with this verse is they think that it's a bright light on the path. And he goes, but what it used to be is it was a lamp that you held at your side and you could only
Oh my
see the
goodness.
steps right in front of you. And
Wow.
you just took that next step and had that faith that that step right in front of you is where the Lord wants you to go.
Oh my goodness. I love that. Oh wow, there's so much I want to
I know.
unpack there.
I know. I love our pastor. His wife's one of my good
Yes.
friends. And I'm just like, I love you guys. You're so wonderful.
That's so good when you have Christian fellowship and Christian leadership like that.
Yes.
And I am becoming friends with my pastor's wife, and it's so important to have that for godly women to be able to speak into your life like that. And of course, godly leadership as well. So I love that so
Yes.
much.
Which, speaking of pastors' wives, with you being friends with yours, some wisdom
Yes.
I would give you, just love on her, encourage her.
Mhm.
Like, just
Yes.
if you have a moment where the Holy Spirit's like, wow, she is just doing an amazing thing at this, like, remind her of that, because there is a lot
Yeah.
of weight on the whole family. I have the privilege of
Mhm.
being friends with several pastors' wives. And so just from
Mm.
friends of mine, like the Lord's given me that blessing. And one of my goals is to always just make them feel like what they are doing matters, what they are doing in their home
Amen.
is seen, and
Yes.
just encourage her, just love on her.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I will take that and run with it for sure. But let's go back to the tithing, the,
Yeah.
the tithing portion. I cannot agree more. I have been in so many situations where me and my husband, where we tithe and our income, like we're covering bills and we somehow have extra when we shouldn't.
Yes.
Like there's no way that we should. I'm like, how does that even happen but the Lord? Like there's no way that we can even describe to somebody like in the natural, like how this is possible. I know I've shared with you off camera, like with me getting out of debt, I paid it like just above, like just at 19,000 in
Amazing.
9 months. So I get it. I'm like, I don't know how this is possible. I'm still giving God the 10%. I'm still investing in my church, but the Lord is honoring it. I would find overtime opportunities, like they would present themselves to me, or I would have the favor to get the holiday pay when no one else did, or, to get those holiday hours. And so it's just amazing how the Lord, it's not like the money just shows up in your doorstep or in your mailbox. I mean, sometimes it can. I've heard many people where that has happened in the past, but this is the Lord will somehow work things in your favor that maybe you don't even realize it,
Yep.
and you just will eventually have all this extra. I'm not saying like, 10,000 in your mailbox, but the Lord will work that for his favor and for your goodness. So that's amazing.
Yep. Sometimes it looks like work. I would say most of the time
Yes.
it does.
Yes.
And it's
Most of
just
the
like
time it
you
does
said,
look
it's
like work.
those opportunities he put in front of you that you were like, Lord, I need you to
Yes.
provide. And he provides the opportunity for you then to
Yes.
work for his glory and his good. And then keep
Yep.
trusting him and keep giving back. And I think it's like, I
Mhm.
think where people misinterpret it is it's not using God as a genie in the bottle. It's
Yes.
being generous with something that can so easily entangle us and so
Mhm.
easily take control of us. And instead, we're giving it back to the Father, saying, this is yours. I'm going to trust that you're going to provide for every need that is in my life. And then he
Yes.
does.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so when you guys were going through that debt-free journey, what are some, I mean, obviously with the apartment and everything, but what are some other, did you do anything else as far as those ways to make either more income or save where you can, that kind of thing?
Yeah, of course. So, one thing I did is I actually worked as a nanny. And so that job took me about 30 hours a week. And so then I
Oh,
cleaned our church as
oh,
well.
nice.
So
Okay.
that was another way that I
Nice.
made more income. And I had my own small business that I was running at that time. And then my
Nice.
husband worked his job full time and he also ran a business. And so we
Okay.
did anything we could to bridge that gap because we were in our early 20s. We were not
Hmm.
making a lot of money. And so we just really had to bridge those gaps. We also, we didn't really eat out. We did not go on any vacations. And
Hmm.
so I know, like, for some people, that would have been very difficult, but we made that promise to each other and
Right.
just really worked to just pay off that debt, knowing that, especially that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom one day. And so we needed to make sure that we had no debt to make that possible. And then when we built and renovated our home, we did everything we could to do it in cash. We cut corners when we had to, not on our home, but like in expenses outside of it. Like my husband jokes he
Yeah.
used to eat peanut butter sandwiches for breakfast. And I'm
Yeah.
not kidding.
I've been there.
But it worked
For
out.
sure.
And so it's like we saved everything that we could and we lived a simple
Yes.
life. We didn't go out to eat very much. We'd maybe we would go out to eat to Chipotle and we'd spend like $15 and that was our splurge.
That is right now, that's me and my husband.
Yes.
We joke around, we joke about it because, we go to Costco where we can, like, to save money
Yes.
on bigger things. And then our once a week splurge is
Yes.
Chipotle. And
Yes. No, that really, that was our
yeah,
splurge. And then it was like
yeah,
the big splurge was like, okay, we might go out on like a fancy date that costs $50 for our anniversary.
yep,
But other than
yep,
that, we
that's,
just really, we held fast to that and held fast to just living as simply as possible. And I think that also showed us the joy in not worrying about stuff and just living a very simple life. So then it's now computed into just a more simple, minimalistic lifestyle. Like that's the trend now, but that was just us for
yeah.
years.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, it's a style of living. And, I always joke around with it because we didn't eat out, and I would deliver Uber Eats and I would do Instacart to make extra money.
Yeah,
It's like, I'm not using Uber Eats, but I'm going to take advantage of Uber Eats and
exactly.
get myself
Exactly.
out of
I've
debt.
had friends who have done the exact same thing. And so
Yeah.
I think that's amazing, just to being willing to work that hard for an amount of time in
Yep.
order to get where you want to go.
Exactly. Absolutely. And that's a good segue into the homesteading. This is something that has fascinated me for so long. So during the debt-free journey, is that when you started like teaching yourself like different things as far as, making your own bread or, all that kind of gardening and all that kind of stuff?
Actually, that came years later. And so that was
Okay.
an interesting journey. So part of that was, so basically to segue into that is it was a
Yeah.
lifestyle change that took
Okay.
place in how we were eating and taking care of ourselves. So after
Yes.
our son was born, he was about a year old, and we decided we wanted to have more kids. And
Hmm.
I had unexplained infertility, as they called it,
Hmm.
and
Okay.
then went on to have 2 ectopic pregnancies over the course of
Oh,
2 years. And so
okay.
they thought that we couldn't have any more kids. And the only thing I could think to do, because they had no answers to me, was to change my lifestyle. So I
Okay.
started going on this journey of I need to eat better. I need to feed my
Yes.
body just real food and see what happens. And my husband, I'm so thankful for him. He was all in,
Mm,
because it's like
that's
as soon
awesome.
as I was like, I need to do this, he was like, great, I'm in. Let's do it. Let's do it together.
Yeah.
And then that journey just kept continuing and changed over time. So I would say around 2021 was when
Okay.
it really started to change quite a bit. So I started making sourdough, which is always the
Okay.
fun thing.
Yes.
And
Which
so
I know we've talked
it
lots
always
about
gets
that.
everybody everywhere. Let's be honest here. So we had a small garden at that time. We grow our own raspberries because, like, we would love to be full homesteaders, but mostly what we do is we buy and store local produce.
Okay.
And so, like, we buy blueberries for the year, strawberries for the year from local farms that we pick them. And then I freeze them and just use them in different recipes rather than buying that from the grocery store. Now, one, it tastes so much better. If you've never had a blueberry fresh from the field, oh my
Hmm.
gosh, you will never eat a grocery store one again. My kids won't touch them now. They're like, no,
That's
we
so
just
crazy.
want the frozen ones.
Yeah.
Same with strawberries and cherries and all of these things. So we started doing that. And then the raw milk came along because
Yes.
one of our girls had the worst infant eczema that our pediatrician had ever seen.
Mm.
When she was 4 months
Poor.
old, she got eczema that turned into a bacterial skin infection that made her skin green and flaky.
Oof.
And then
Just not possible.
the medication they tried to use for it, she had an allergic reaction, and then her whole body was red and inflamed. And I had to lather her in steroid creams for 4 months straight, 3 times a day, because they couldn't figure out what's wrong. They did not know how to heal the eczema. And it turned out that my father in law's childhood friend is a raw milk farmer. And he goes, I was talking to him the other day. He said, you need to try this. I was like, you're nuts. Like, I didn't even drink milk at that time. Like, I was an almond milk girl. I was like, no way, I'm not doing that. That's weird, Chuck. And that was my father in law's name.
Yeah.
And he was like, just try it. We'll see what happens. So I went and I talked to the farmer and we tried it. And within a couple months, her eczema was virtually fully gone. I'm going to cry. They told us they thought she was going to have scars over her entire body from it. She has no scarring.
Oh, praise Jesus.
She's 6.
Oh my gosh. I
And to
can't
look
even
at her,
imagine.
like every time our farmer, when I bring her and he looks at her, because he knows, I told him,
Yeah.
he tears up.
Yeah.
He tears up and he hugs her because he goes, this is why I do this, because people don't know. They don't know that the
No.
food you eat will heal you. That
Yes.
literally the nutrients in raw milk are so great that it is a superfood that then
Yes.
we have completely stripped it of everything by pasteurizing it. And we have
Hmm.
no good in it anymore. And all these people who think they're lactose intolerant, really, they need the enzymes that are in the raw milk in order to digest this food. and that God gave us these whole foods that will heal your body if
Mhm.
you will do it, if you will eat them, if you will stop eating the crap. And I think that's where people are missing why the homestead movement is such a thing, and that it's like it's cross political parties. It's cross everywhere. Like I see it on the internet, like it's everybody.
Right,
Everybody's like, we
exactly.
just want real food. We
Yeah.
just want to go back to let's eat things, let's figure out what's going on, and let's just
Mhm.
eat real food. And so I think that's where, like, I've always had a passion for cooking. I used to be a pastry
Mhm.
chef, and then being able to take that in and make real good food for my family. And then I just want
Yes.
to share those recipes with people. And I want to share that it's
Mhm.
possible to eat this way and to live a homesteading lifestyle, even if you can't grow the food yourself. And so we do grow some of our own stuff. Like I grow all of our
Mhm.
cucumbers and I make pickles and I can peaches and apples and I do all those things. And I love doing those
Mhm.
things.
Yes.
But I think it's also just getting people to see, like, if you eat that real food the way that God made it, like it
Yes.
will heal your body in ways that you've never seen.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so good. And this is something that I am so passionate about. And props to your husband for immediately jumping on board because I know so many husbands that are just like, does it really work? Like, are we sure? Is this a waste of time? Is this a waste of money? And I know for my husband, it even took him a second to get used to the idea of not using, for instance, like detergents and everything
Yeah.
like that because he loved the signature scent of a certain detergent. And he's like, "You're just being a party pooper." He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Just trust me."
You're like,
I
no
said, "Fragrances."
fragrance.
Yes, fragrances were the first thing that we got rid
Yes.
of. But once I removed them, he came home and he's like, "My manager stunk today." I'm like, "What did he do? Did he not shower before work?" He goes, "No, he smelled like a dryer sheet." I'm like, "Praise God, you finally see
Yes.
the difference
Yes.
of what it means to live as naturally as possible." And so, props to your husband for jumping all on board with
Oh, he
that.
cracks me up because he is like all in it. So I mill
Yeah.
my own wheat berries too. Like I'm on the fresh milled flour train. And that was
Okay.
because of him. He came to me and he
Okay.
goes, "I think we should mill our own flour and have wheat berries." And I went, "Wait, what?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, he was like, "I know this is me asking you to do something." He was like, "Would
Yeah.
you be willing?" And I was like, "Yeah, like I'm on board." I was like,
Sure.
that's fine. And then he loved it. Our kids love it. Like, so we're all it. We're those weird people. And so, but it was
I
like
love it.
before it was even a thing. It was back in 2021. I'm milling wheat berries
Mhm.
and nobody knows why. Like, I'm just like, well, what do you do?
That's so awesome. And I can't wait to have my own little, even if I just grow like peppers and tomatoes, like I'm so
Yes.
excited to have my own little garden and, grow that. I'm so done with living in an apartment. And there's obviously different lifestyles, but I grew up with a backyard. And so for us to be buying a house with a
Yes.
backyard, I'm so excited. I've lived in an apartment for like 7 years now, and yeah, I'm so ready to not just
Yes.
live in a with a backyard.
Now you
So
guys are
I
moving
love
soon,
that.
right?
Yes, we close in 10 days. Oh my
Oh, I'm
gosh.
so happy for you. I'm so
Thank
happy
you,
for you.
thank
That's so
you, thank you,
wonderful.
thank you. Yes. But going back to your daughter, I cannot believe that. That's insane. I'm so glad that you guys found that out because again, people that don't know and don't understand, it's it's something, it's a burden. They just don't know where to even start. And sometimes people can just feel so hopeless. I know for myself, like I did regular medicine until about I've had hypothyroid since I was 17. And well, like really I got diagnosed like my 17th birthday time
Mm.
frame. And I just remember I gained so much weight with this autoimmune is like I gained 20 pounds in a month. And I remember for my birthday, I literally wrapped ace bandages around my stomach because I was so embarrassed with the weight that I was gaining because I didn't
Yeah.
know. And it took 8 years of regular medicine before I found a naturopathic doctor. And they have done more for me in 6 months than a regular doctor did in 8 years. And like, so I scream this from the mountaintops that time and time again, holistic, naturopathic, eating whole foods, that method of healing, it's the way God intended it. It's something that I am just so passionate about. And I wish everybody knew this and understood this. And like you said, with now with RFK in that's going to be in office,
I'm
I
so pumped.
cannot wait. I just
Him and Joel
that. I'm
Salatin.
like,
I'm so pumped. I'm so
I am
pumped.
so pumped. I can't even describe. I texted all like my crunchy friends and I'm just like, oh my gosh, we're finally gonna get like organic produce and raw milk and all the different things. So I'm so excited.
Yes, I know. I think it's just, I think what people need to realize too with the RFK, because I saw him talking about this when people were worried
Yeah.
about the vaccines. He goes, I'm not going to ban them. I just want everyone to have all of the information about everything.
Right.
And he goes, I
Exactly.
just want a true, like, we have this Freedom of Information Act, but we don't have it for healthcare.
Right.
Like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
We need all this info so that we can all make individual, informed decisions of
Yes.
what we want to do for our health. Because my thing is like, yes, we're a free country. You can do what you want, but you need to be fully informed.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. Like there's certain things and this might get a little dicey, but I don't have kids yet, but I want to have a home birth because I don't know how you have if you had natural births or anything like that, but there are certain things that I was aware of as far as like medical intervention within like a couple minutes of the child being born. Like I don't really want that. And I don't know how recent this is or like I don't know. I feel like I'm being very vague, but I feel like because I don't want to get like banned or anything because,
Oh, yeah, we all know.
but yes, we all know. But yeah, I took a good look in the mirror and I'm like, that's not what I want for my child. So yeah, I would love your opinions or anything like that if you have any.
Yeah, I mean, I had hospital births for all of my kids. And so,
Okay.
but I think it's more so that the hospital has its place. Medicine has
Yes.
its place. It is, I see it as a gift of common grace from the
Yes.
Lord. And because we've had medical intervention for our kids that was necessary, that
Yeah.
led to healing for them, surgical procedures that were necessary. Like one of our sons, he had a chronic cough for 6 months.
Okay.
And I couldn't get anybody to like do anything about it. So finally, I took him to a pulmonary specialist who said,
Yeah.
I think he has a lung infection, but I need to scope him to figure out what's wrong. And what happened was he had an underdeveloped trachea. And when he had gotten sick, the infection had gotten into his lungs and was sitting there for 6 months.
Wow.
So we had to do 3 weeks of antibiotics, which was awful because it's like he said, he goes, I'm not doing this unless we know it's an infection because we know that antibiotics are not good for his gut. But if it is an infection, we're going to heal it. And so he did that. It's been 2 years. He hasn't had a cough since. Not like that.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah, and I think that's the difference is like there's just certain things that are necessary, but then there's so much that is not necessary that I think that was my point is I just don't want the stuff that is not necessary that we don't need to be exposed to is it's just taking that extra steps of being that of precautious.
Yes, exactly. And I think it's just like I said before, it's informed consent. It's knowing all of the risk along with the benefits and then getting to make a choice for yourself based on that. And so I think that's the main thing with it is that people just want to know. We just want to know the truth and we want to be able to make good decisions for ourselves based on having all of the information presented.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. And that's why I think I'm very excited for RFK is because that way we can just, it can be blatant in front of our face to the point, no hiding the information, but just presenting it to us in all of its glory and, figuring out what's best for our health, for our family. So I'm very excited about that.
Me too.
But I would love to talk about your sourdough business. Give us all the juice on
Yeah,
that.
of course. So I run a business called Sevenfold Sourdough. And so the reason
I
it's
love it.
called that is because obviously when you make sourdough, everybody's heard of the stretch and folds, and there's
Mhm.
7 in our family. So that's why we call it Sevenfold
I
Sourdough.
love it.
And in
Yes.
it, my husband and I work together to make handmade, high quality sourdough tools and essentials for your sourdough journey. So I realized when I started making sourdough that I bought this cheap kit on Amazon. It was
Mhm.
cheap, poorly made. The things broke within just a very short amount of time. My bench scraper
Wow.
rusted. The bread lame that came with it was just a terrible quality. And I bought a couple other bread lames during that time. And my husband is an amazing woodworker. You can see that on our YouTube channel too. And he goes, well, what if I just make you one? I was like, listen, I would love that, but that's your time.
Yeah.
So I was like, but if you
Yeah.
can, that would be wonderful. And he was like, well, let's see
Yes.
if I can. And he made me just this beautiful handmade bread lame and let me pick like where I wanted the bolt to be that holds the blade, how far I wanted the blade to go in or out based on my expertise of making sourdough every week for 3 years. And just made this beautiful product. And then he goes, well, why don't we just sell it too? And so
Wow.
we started selling bread lames, sourdough starter that's dehydrated. So if you need to start your sourdough, I sell starter with all of the directions to help you get started. A wooden stir stick for stirring your sourdough, and then a comprehensive kit that includes a bread lame, a stir stick, a jar, a glass jar for your starter, your proofing bowls, and a bench scraper. So it's everything you would need to get started with your sourdough journey. And then on our YouTube channel, I actually have a whole playlist that is sourdough videos. So my goal is rather than charging you for the information of how to make sourdough, I would rather give you the best quality tools and then just give you free videos.
I love that so much. And I feel like, and we've talked about it before, that I feel like certain things on social media, it's just so complicated.
Yes.
Some people make it so complicated. And I'm like, I have to block out a whole day to make sure I have my stretch and folds
Oh my
done
goodness.
and set my
I
timer.
saw a video one day where this girl talked about how she does 12 sets of stretch and folds. And I was like, no wonder no one wants to make sourdough. Like, I wouldn't either if
Yeah,
I thought I had to do 12
right.
sets just to get a loaf of bread for my family. Like, that's
Yeah.
insane. So, my goal has always been make it simple, make it easily
Mhm.
accessible, make it so that families can do it and then store their
Yes.
bread and be able to have fresh baked, high quality products without all of the fuss of sourdough. It's sourdough just made simple.
I love that. Yeah, it needs to be simple. It needs to be accessible. It needs to be, you know, you do one, two steps and we're good.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
an entry level,
Yes,
nothing too
exactly.
crazy. Yes,
Exactly. And that's the
simple.
goal of it, is just for it to be a very simple, easy process that then you can have just great bread for your family and also have a high quality tool that actually works and is not going to break and isn't just being shipped in from overseas with no idea what's in it. And so I think that's a
Exactly.
lot of the things too with a lot of the bread products is with the wood products. I mean, so my husband being a woodworker, he'll look at wood things and he'll be like, I don't know what finish they have on this. He goes, there's no way this is not synthetic. We don't even know where this wood is from or how it was cared for. So he uses high quality American hardwoods that we buy from a local wood mill that's right near us.
Wow.
And so we actually go there, pick up the woods for ourselves. Like, it is American hardwoods and just beautiful products that you know exactly where they come from, exactly how they're
That's
made.
so beautiful.
And they're just such high quality. If you're going to spend all this time making this bread that's better for your body, you cannot be baking it on a silicone baking sheet that's then leaking plastic into it. Like, what is the point then?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And then I know one last thing I wanted to touch on, you guys renovating your home. And I know we kind of briefly touched on this, but so you guys bought a hoarder home.
We did.
What was that like? Okay.
It's been interesting. And so our
Has
running
it?
joke is that everyone keeps telling us we were going to find treasures, but all we found was trash. And so there were no treasures. And so
Oh
we
my
were just like,
goodness.
oh my goodness. But it's been a little bit chaotic. So basically our love for home renovation started back in 2015 when we bought our home. Our home was a HUD home, and
Okay.
we fully renovated it, took it down to the studs. We put in all new electrical throughout the entire home, all new plumbing all the way out to the street, which, if you understand anything about plumbing, that is a very large undertaking.
Yes, it is.
Made brand new bathrooms, bedrooms, everything. Fully renovated this house in the most incredible way, to the point that my husband custom built a sauna in our house.
Oh, I'm so
It's
jealous.
amazing. It's amazing. He had like the wood shipped in. We bought the heater, actually like came from a Finnish sauna company. Like, it's like high quality stuff. It's gorgeous. So our
Wow.
love for it came from there. And then, like I said, we've always wanted to get into real estate investing and flipping homes.
Yeah.
And so when this home fell into our laps and the Lord opened that door, we decided to walk through it. And so right now we are in the middle of renovating it. And so our first video about it is up on our YouTube page called We Bought a Hoarder House, because
That's
we did.
awesome.
We, so in it, the previous owner wanted much of the stuff in it, and it was actually cheaper to give it to him than to pay for dumpsters. And so he took 5 26-foot moving trucks full out of the house.
Oh,
No, it gets better. And then we moved, we hired some guys to move another 6 to 7 trailers it's a 16-foot trailer of
oh,
trash.
oh.
Not to mention, we've gone through over 65 contractor bags full of trash. And that's not including like the renovation stuff. That's not including any taking down walls, anything like that. This is all just stuff in the house and in the sheds. That is zero renovation materials. Like, we have bags and bags of drywall we've taken down and beams and things like that. But that amount that I just shared with you is literally just what was in the physical home. And it is a 1,600 square foot ranch on a slab.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I can't even picture that.
I
Like,
know.
how did that
I
even
know.
happen?
I know.
How many years was he in the
Well,
home?
it was his sister's home, and it was their childhood home.
Okay.
So the parents, it was their home and all of their stuff, and then all of the kids' stuff. And so it was just lots and lots of stuff.
I'm not sure how old the gentleman was, but I'm sure, like, as in, say, older gentleman, his finger painting from first grade was there.
Oh,
Like,
I'm
I
sure it was. I found unopened toys from the 70s.
Shut
Yeah.
up.
That was like the only thing I found
Oh.
that I was like, oh, that's interesting. But I think we get a misunderstanding with people with posting it on YouTube, is people will be like, oh, you'll find so many treasures there. And I'm like, listen, I'm not in the
Yeah,
thrifting business. I'm in the house flipping business. And I don't have
exactly.
capacity or desire to go through people's things. Like, especially as a minimalist, I'm like,
Yeah.
I tend to throw away things too quickly. Like, my husband will be like, don't throw that away. You're going to want that later. And I'm like, no, I just want it gone. And
Exactly.
so
I
he
know.
has to like talk me off my ledge of, I just want to get rid of everything. And so with this home, it's like, now it's going to be beautiful, but we're in the
Of
middle
course.
of renovation, and Yeah.
Holy
It's a whole
moly.
thing. So our next
Wow.
video is, I'm hoping to have it posted tomorrow, which actually shows
Yeah.
us cleaning out the house itself.
Oh, please share.
Yes, yes. So that one's really funny. And just some of the things we found, like snake skins underneath the mower outside, and yeah, mice nest in the vents inside the house.
Oh
Yeah.
my
The most
word.
chaotic one was they had hardwired a clock into the wall. And we didn't know. And my husband went to rip it off the wall, and all these sparks. We thought it was just a
That
clock. Nope,
right.
nope. And there was a hole
Holy
in the wall
moly.
this big behind it.
I'm
Yep.
sure there was.
It's been interesting,
That's
but it's good.
yeah.
And
Oh
we
my
figure
gosh.
worst case scenario, it makes great content and people find it
Yeah.
entertaining. And so,
Yeah. You'll be TikTok famous about buying your hoarder home.
exactly. That's the goal is I'm like, just give me some of that YouTube famous. And
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Well, this has been so much fun, Kaitlyn. Thank you so much for coming
yeah,
on.
thank you so much,
Um,
Bree.
of course. Two more questions.
All right.
Just rapid fire. Number one, what is your favorite book in the Bible?
Hard. I've
I
always
know.
loved James. So we had a running
Okay.
joke in youth group that James is the kick in the pants that we all need. And
Yes.
so just because it's very, very convicting. And so
Yes.
I feel like I love just how convicting it is. But right now I'm in Corinthians and I'm really enjoying that. So
Okay.
I just finished First Corinthians and now I'm in Second Corinthians.
That's amazing. And then number two, rapid fire is what is your favorite book that is not in the Bible but has spoken to you in some way, whether that be leadership, motherhood, marriage, life, anything like that?
Ooh. So there is this book. I haven't read it in quite a while, but it really affected me growing up in my faith. It's called Epic, and it's a short book. It's probably less than 100 pages, and it's by John Eldridge. And
Okay.
it's about heaven. So, what
I
I
love
love
that.
about that is that at that time when he released that book, there were all these people talking about how heaven was just going to be so boring.
Hmm.
And he wrote a book talking about the beauty and the joy that heaven is going to be and the
I
hope
love
that it is for us, that it's not just like sitting on clouds or anything like that,
that.
but just this beautiful picture of this perfect world and the streets of gold and just a very beautiful book
Hmm.
on that. And so I loved that one. And then I'd say one other one would be it's called Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts. So it's great for
Okay.
people who are dating or married. My husband and I read it together when we were dating and we knew we wanted to pursue marriage together.
Hmm.
And it asks you very difficult questions that help you and your spouse or you and your significant other to work through so that your faith is strengthened, so that you're on the same page ideologically when you get
I
into
love that.
marriage. I really believe that reading that book helped us to be on the same page with what we wanted in life and in our marriage, and just has helped us both to stay centered on the Lord.
Amen. I love that. That's something that's so important is I always say marriage is my first
Yes.
ministry and that's what's important. And even for instance, like I've been fasting and I fasted for the election and then I have my birthdays coming up. So the Lord, I just felt that I'm supposed to be fasting. But I also know that on Sundays I'm with my husband. And so we had a meal together on Sundays. So that marriage is my first ministry. And so that is so important that we have God-centered biblical marriage. And I think it's a good reflection of the bride of Christ and that marriage is that example is for that. So, yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. Well, amazing. Thank you so much, Kaitlyn. I am so looking forward for everybody to hear this conversation. What is your Instagram, your YouTube? Give us all the details.
Yeah, of course. So my Instagram is the Hockett Home, and then our YouTube channel is the Hockett Home as well. And then
Okay.
our website for our sourdough business is sevenfoldsourdough.com. And yeah, that's where I spend most of my time.
Perfect. Well, everyone go follow Kaitlyn, follow along on her hoarder home journey on YouTube, and learn how to go make some sourdough.
Thanks so much, Bree.
Thank you. I hope this episode blessed you today. If it did, please rate and review the show. It helps grow the podcast to reach more Proverbs 31 creatives just like you. Don't forget to follow the show so you'll automatically be notified when the next episode drops. I'll be praying for you. See you next week.